Welcome to another short little video to help you understand where you are with your finances. My name is Jenn Shaw, and I am the founder at All Accounting LLC. And today we are going to be talking about your profit and loss. So last week we talked a lot about the three different statements that a business has: the profit and loss, your balance sheet, and your cash flow statement. And that was just a pretty large overview of what happens. And now we're going to do a little bit deeper dive to help you understand the mechanics of what actually is happening within your profit and loss. So let's get started. Well, hold on a second. I'm getting used to, here we go. Okay. So on your profit and loss, there are sections within it that are really important to be paying attention to. So we'll kind of break those down. At the top level, you have your revenue, which is your sales, and then you have all of your costs associated with those. So these are direct costs. That then is where your gross profit is. So just what it takes to make your service or product and produce that. And then what you have is your overhead. Some people call it OPEX. There's a lot of different phrases for it, but this is basically everything else that runs your business. And then that gets you to your net operating income. And this, we still have a couple things. We have your other income, which may be just random things that happen throughout the year, your other expenses, and that gets you to your bottom line of net income. We have your revenue, and this is really the starting point. A lot of businesses focus a lot on this, and although it is really important, it is not the whole picture of what we have going on. But with that, your top line growth, it looks at your income, which can be products or services. It can be something that you are creating with especially contractors. So if you're building your home, this is your service that you're providing. And you can have a bunch of different facets within that. You can specifically have a service of repair and maintenance, or you can have new builds. And so this just kind of captures any sort of sale or profit of service that you create. The key drivers that really are that look at this and make movement within your product is going to be 4 different things. So you have your pricing strategy, your sales volume, customer retention, and new market opportunities. So these different things will help move the needle up or down for your sales directly. Pricing, obviously, you want to ensure that this is making sure that all of your costs are associated with that. You want to have a markup of, 15%, 20%. It varies between each business and what they are really wanting as their goals. And then if you're not just looking at the price that you have, but how much you're selling. Are you doing 2 renovations this year, or are you doing 10 renovations, or, how many people are you servicing a week or a month? That's just your volume. Customer retention, this focuses, if you have returning customers, they're constantly calling you, oh, I have this new project, or if you're in repair, yes, I need you every time you call, and making sure that you don't have to find new customers, because there's a big cost when you're finding new customers. And then you can also, if you have one stream of revenue and you want to look at a different driver, you can look at new markets. And so this might just be an offshoot of, well, if you are doing electric and that's your key driver, perhaps something that goes along with that is going to actually be like HVAC, because that also encompasses electric. So it's just a subsidiary of what you're doing. And then it's really good to always monitor what your revenue is looking like. Do you see trends? Are you heavy in the summertime and really low in the wintertime? Is the beginning of the month better than the end of the month? And just looking with the more data and the more years you have, but just kind of really seeing what trends does your business have. And just always forward looking and how can we improve those? How can we help those gaps? And create better sales. The next thing we will talk about is your COGS, or cost of goods sold, and your gross profit. So your cost of goods sold is your direct cost that you have with your sales. So this is going to be all of the supplies that you need. If you need wiring, if you need lumber, if you need your direct employees that are working specifically on a job. And so they are basically touching the product or touching the service to help produce that sale and the delivery of service. So this, the impact on margins, so the higher costs you have, that reduces your profit margin, because ultimately your sales minus your costs is what your gross profit is going to be. And to go a little deeper, a lot of people talk about your gross profit margin, and this is going to be that gross profit amount divided by your revenue. And so this is your top line profit margin that you want to kind of see where you are with industry. A lot of companies, fall in between 20% and 50%, but it really depends on the strength that you have and the different costs that you are able to bring within that. And then again, always wanting to review and see where those numbers are, your performance, making sure that you do have a healthy margin. You don't want to have your profit margin too low, because you still have a bunch of other expenses, your operating expenses, and your expenditures, for tools or trucks or all of those things that aren't on this top side, but that also needs to be working within that. Next, we have our overhead and operating expenses, and these are things that are indirectly associated with all of your sales. So part of the business, of course, but they aren't directly associated with all of those. So you can think of things like rent or storage units. You can think of your insurance, your people at the front desk helping, or yourself, if part of your work isn't just like in your business, but it is managing people, any managers or things like that. We have your marketing and sales. So just kind of like everything that also helps with running the business, but isn't directly associated with your top line. And again, we always are wanting to monitor and see where these are. Are there larger trends? We really want to try and kind of even scale of what things are. So if you make insurance payments, we can spread those out throughout the year and see how those are. But constantly monitoring, can you get better rates on things, or is there better pricing for your rent, and just always negotiating and rearranging with those. This brings us to our bottom line, our net income, and what you see at the very end result of all of your all of the things that you've done throughout your business. So this is your net income, and it's your sales minus your costs minus your operating expenses, and that's your net income. And sorry, this is your net operating income, because sometimes the business has some random things that show up. We have your other income that might be interest that you have, if you have any investments, insurance payouts, and then you also have other expenses. This could be loan interest or penalties, and that would bring us to the very, very bottom of net income. And a good profit margin at the very bottom, not just at your top line of gross margin. We talked about that. That's going to be a larger amount. So, anywhere from 10 to 20 to 50%, depending on what you offer. But your net income, good, healthy for contractors, is really going to be around 5 to 12% on the high end of that bottom line. Now, this again doesn't necessarily, it's always good to have a good profit. You don't want to really see yourself in a lot of losses, but just because you are getting a profit doesn't necessarily mean that your cash flow is there. So it's really important to always monitor the different levels, the different line items that you have within your profit and loss to ensure that things are ticking. And if you're not doing it, on at least a monthly basis, at least a quarterly basis, but if you wait too long, you are constantly reacting instead of proactively looking at the next steps that you can do. Businesses kind of run slower in general, so we always want to stay on top of it as much as possible. And so that's where we really come in. So if you are struggling with really understanding what the profit and loss is telling you and how you can do a better job at reading it, that's what we can go in and look at and really review what you have going on. So I do hope that we see you on a call. We do a profit and cash flow analysis for you and see if we can help, see if we can just get you on the right track. And yeah, I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a great week.